Let's play that clip. Cellular broadband has transformed our world. It has brought humanity closer together, on the move, and in times of great need. Yet today, 2.6 billion people have no internet access, and more than 5.5 billion cellular subscribers still experience coverage gaps. That's why AST Space Mobile, a pioneering American satellite company, is on a mission to revolutionize mobile connectivity. We're building the first and only space-based cellular broadband network, one designed to work directly with off-the-shelf smartphones and at 4G and 5G speeds. A new dawn for the mobile web begins with our first 5 commercial satellites called Bluebirds. Here's how AST Space Mobile's unprecedented mission will work. Our first-generation Bluebird satellites have large, thin arrays made of microns. Each micron has solar cells on one side that power cellular antennas on the other. Together, they form a phased array with an area of nearly 700 square feet. That's just under half the size of a volleyball court, yet each folds up to the size of a large refrigerator. This allows our engineers to tuck all 5 of the satellites inside the top of a rocket or fairing. It takes under 10 minutes for the rocket to accelerate to 17,000 miles per hour and reach a zone called low Earth orbit, or LEO. Hundreds of miles above the planet, each packed-up satellite separates from the rocket. Our team will check all satellite systems before releasing each Bluebird from its container. Next, the microns will start automatically unfolding as an array. Once the array is deployed, 2 steerable antennas will pop out from a central hub called the control sat. A months-long process then begins to bring the satellites into service with industry-leading partners like AT&T, Verizon, and Vodafone, among others. This includes spacing out the 5 Bluebird satellites in LEO to provide optimal coverage. So how will these marvelous machines squash dead zones? The same way phones normally work with cell towers and providers. Let's break it down. In a regular cellular connection, a smartphone attaches to antennas at the top of a tower when the signals are strong enough. At the bottom of the tower, a base station computer interprets those signals like a switchboard operator, connecting the phone to networks like AT&T's and Verizon's and the internet. Each Bluebird array is like squeezing hundreds of cell tower tops together. This allows each satellite to beam hundreds of cells of coverage over hundreds of thousands of square miles as it flies overhead. In the US, Bluebirds will connect directly to unmodified phones using premium low-band cellular spectrum. These signals can pass through foliage, cars, and even buildings. Meanwhile, our gateway antennas on the ground connect the satellite to our partners' networks. It's like combining hundreds of base stations. Our solution makes smartphones function as if they are connected to ordinary cell towers. To provide continuous coverage, we plan to launch many satellites, including a next-generation Bluebird that's 3 times larger. As we build out our constellation, we aim to bring seamless 4G and 5G coverage to the US. Flying additional Bluebirds would help build substantial global coverage, kicking off a bold new era for mobile and human connectivity. All right, that was a really cool video, kind of giving you a profile of this mission. I want to show you a couple things before we get to launch, which is just under 3 minutes away. One of those views I want to give you is our Satellite Operations Center in Lanham.
Is still looking green, and the range is ready to support our T0.
Yeah, launch closeouts has started.
Our T0 of 4:52 a.m. Eastern time. And with that, we are proceeding into the last few minutes of terminal count.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Just heard that Falcon 9 is now in startup, which means the internal flight computers have taken over for the launch countdown.
LD, go for launch.
And the launch director, or LD, has given the final go for launch. So at T-minus 35 seconds, all systems are go for the launch of Falcon 9.
Vehicle is pitching downrange. Stage 1 propulsion is nominal. Copy alarms.
At T-plus 33 seconds and counting, Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Slick 40. After clearing the tower, we tilt or gimbal the engines to initiate a roll maneuver, which you may notice in the Stage 1 camera view. This enables the vehicle's antennas to stay in the best position for communicating with the ground. And in just a few seconds, we'll be throttling down the engines in preparation for max Q, or maximum aerodynamic pressure.
Vehicle is supersonic. Max Q.
And there's max Q. And from this point on, while Falcon 9 is still accelerating to an orbital speed of about 17,500 miles per hour, aerodynamic pressure on Falcon decreases as we approach the vacuum of space.
MVAC chill has started.
Now we have 6 events coming up in quick succession, and we should hear all of these called out by Mission Control, starting with MECO, then stage separation, stage 1 flip, second engine start 1 or SES1, and the first stage boost back burn, and lastly fairing separation. After stage 1 shuts down its engines and separates from the second stage, the booster turns itself around in a flip maneuver to make its way back to land near the launch site. The boost back burn is a controlled engine burn that both slows the booster's forward velocity and then propels it towards its landing site. After boost back, stage 1 will continue to coast in microgravity to the highest point of its flight, called the apogee. It will then begin to descend.
Main engine cut off.
There we just heard MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
Stage separation.
MVAC ignition.
And SES1.
Startup.
Great call-outs there, and a great view of that MVAC engine lighting up. So after boost back, it will then begin to descend under the acceleration of gravity until it's time to relight the engines for entry burn.
Fairing separation confirmed.
Great call out there for fairing separation. We will be attempting to retrieve these fairing halves once they fall back to Earth with our recovery vessel, Go Cosmos. Coming up next, we will have boost back shutdown right on time.
Both vehicles are nominal trajectory.
So we're now about T plus 3 minutes and 48 seconds into today's mission. And our next major mission milestone will be the first stage entry burn, which will take place just past the T plus 6 minute mark. To start the entry burn, we will relight 3 of the M1D engines, which is really similar to pumping the brakes to slow down the vehicle as it passes back into the Earth's atmosphere. The entry burn helps reduce the heat generated from the friction of the atmosphere and reduces the aerodynamic forces acting on Falcon, which helps maintain controlled flight and prepare for the landing burn. We are about 1 minute and 15 seconds away from the first stage entry burn. The Merlins on the first stage are optimized for sea level, and these achieve about 190,000 pounds of thrust each during ascent and descent. And at liftoff, Falcon 9's first stage has thrust that's greater than 5 747 airplanes at full power. And the MVAC engine that you see burning on your screen has a much wider nozzle, and that one is optimized to 220,500 pounds of thrust in vacuum. That entry burn coming up in about 30 seconds, where Falcon 9 will decelerate by firing its Merlin engines.
Stage 1 entry burn.
You can, great call out there, and you can see the entry burn just completed. You can see that that the stage 1 is still continuing to move really, really fast, even though it is slowing down. During entry burn, the vehicle is flying through Merlin's exhaust gases or its plume, which deposits a layer of soot on the vehicle surface. And that soot comes from the carbon-based fuel that Falcon 9 uses. And with each flight, the soot builds up a little bit more on the outside of the vehicle. We have a landing burn coming up in about 30 seconds from now.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Great call for the landing burn.
Landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing, firm.
And that was the 13th launch and landing for this first stage. This landing marks SpaceX's 347th recovery of an orbital class rocket, including first stage landings for Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
We have SECO 1 coming up in about
Stage 2 FTS
15 seconds from now.
And back shutdown.
Great call out. We just had SECO 1. And we aren't expecting to have ground station coverage for the first 3 deployments today. So we'll be returning around T+1 hour for the final 2 deployments. So we'll see you then.
Good transfer orbit.